Okay, so Be'ezras Hashem, we're continuing with our weekly series of Shirim, the Torah of Recovery, with the Light Revealed, where we reveal the illumination of the Torah within the territory of the recovery of our lives, the autobiographical unfolding of the self and all of its processes to be illuminated with the Das of Moshe Rabbeinu, with the knowledge of the Torah, with the awareness that every story of each and every Yid is fundamentally a part of Torah, and we begin to uncover the significance and the meaningfulness at the heart of every part of the process, as well as elevating the process itself up to the light of the Torah, so that we can reveal the potency of the Torah, that the Torah speaks everywhere, especially here, especially in the human condition, especially in the place where the person's feet hit the ground and a person feels most situated and bound up in this world. And that's the secret of the Torah of recovery, to bind Shemayim and Aretz together, to reveal the potency of Shemayim that rests in the Aretz and the value of the Aretz that ascends up to reveal more and more of Shemayim, to value our experiences, not to feel that they're simply incidental symptoms of our lives, but to see them as the fundamental unfolding of our Sipurei Maisios Meshanim Kadmonios, in the perpetual act of reimagining our past through the lens of the present itself. That's the secret of the Torah of recovery. Kihem chayenu va'orech yamenu. It is our life, it is the light of our lives, the capacity to choose to find the innermost spiritual meaning of our experiences, va'orech yamenu, and it extends our days. It makes our days meaningful enough that I want to extend them. The past events, instead of being shamed of them and wanting to kill time and run away from them, which is koitzer yamin, which is a shortness of days, hu oirech yamenu, it extends my days. It extends my life, because when I learn to look positively back on my past, on my present, and on my future, so then I'm going to value my Sipur. I'm going to value every part of the Sipur. Each pasuk of my Megillah, no matter how concealed it seems, is illuminated as the receptacle, as a kli, as a moment that is the place of the infinite light unfolding. And when we see our experiences of concealment, the narrative of our recovering lives, if we see them as receptacles and moments to draw down the infinite light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, more divine awareness, more revelation that Hashem has been with me all along, that my higher power has been walking the path with me, and that in fact the higher power is my path. Ultimately, when we can uncover that, it becomes the secret of the Torah of recovery, the illumination of B'makom Shabali Tshuva Omdim Ein Tzadikim Gemurim Yecholim Lamod, and the secret of the Torah of the Bali Tshuva, the Torah, the post-traumatic Torah, Luchos Shnios, that comes about after a shattering, and the revelation that the broken tablets rest within the Aron in order to illuminate the potency and the strength of the second set of Luchos, the Torah that comes about after the fall. And so we find ourselves in Parshas Eikev, V'haya Eikev Tishma'un. V'haya Eikev Tishma'un. Now, there's a language of joy inherent within V'haya. Vayehi always implies a certain sadness, as Chazal tell us, Vayehi b'yemei Achashverosh, that the beginning of the Purim story is a time of concealment, and therefore it's oriented towards the word Vayehi. Vayhi always implies sadness or despondency, as the Gra, as all of the tzaddikim point out. The reason for this is that Yehi is the implication of a future orientation. It's a future tense. Vayehi is transforming that future orientation to a past tense. So it's the death of the possibility of a new future because of a stuckness in the past. That's the source of sadness, where I transform the present and future orientation, which allows me to become more of myself, and it becomes encumbered and covered over by that past tense, that sense that I can't do anything better. Vayehi, and it's mahapich, the future into the past, and that's where the sadness comes from. But v'haya, and it will be, or and it was, is a lashon of simcha. Why is it a lashon of simcha? So in accordance with the same diktuk and the pnimius insight into these words, as the Gra points out, so haya is past orientation. Haya is something that happened already, but the addition of the vav hachibor, the secret of the das of Moshe Rabbeinu, to the past reveals to me that the past is still something that is only emergent. It's going to be. It's a future orientation, that the future present moment has the ability to uncover and open up the potency of the past. That's the secret of joy, of retroactive reimagining of my experience, that yes, it was the past, but v'haya, it's something that seemingly wasn't joyous in the beginning, but through the rewriting of that narrative, through my mind, the opening of my mind back to the ways that I lived my life. And again, we're not talking about reimagining consequences or reimagining responsibility. That's a separate category entirely of how a person grapples with the past as it continues to carry itself into the future. But with regards to the past that remains the past and that no longer has any reasonable relationship to our functioning in the present moment, I have to look back on it with eyes of judgment, of positivity. I have to look back on it and elevate it, to reimagine the past in the light of positivity, to give me strength and hope in the present moment. And that's the secret of the haya. The haya, the past tense, which was something that happened already and can't be changed, is illuminated in the light of the changeability and the fixing and the infinite capacity to fix of the present. And when the past is transformed into the present, it reveals to us the secret of tshuva, and that's where joy comes from. But again, it's not a simple joy. The v'haya is not a simple joy. It's a doubled look. If I look at it first, it still seems a haya. It was. It's only with the doubled look of v'haya that I come to realize that what is written in the past is written in the secret ink of tshuva that preceded the world, which enables itself to be rewritten as if it's still the very fundamental text itself. That the secret of tshuva is that the retroactive reimagining of my life, in accordance with the proper principles of bittul and amuna and yir and av and dveikos and iskashus tzadikim, I actually have the ability to rewrite my story and to see myself in a new light and to see myself with the true strength that I have as a messenger of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, who is capable of revealing the light of Hashem in places that other people are incapable of. That each and every person who struggles is a shliach. When we look retroactively back at it, we don't put ourselves into the shlichus, and in accordance with each and every person's particular point of Nekudas HaBechira and the Nekuda HaShayach LaLiba Me'ez Hazos, and the point of spiritual awareness and das that is relevant to their heart at that particular moment, in the language of Rabbi Nachman, in accordance with my microsystems and my macrosystems and my subjective situatedness in reality as a human being, with all of my history that preceded me and even preceded the concept of something being preceded, that in accordance with my particular subjectivity, I always have the choice as to whether I'm going to choose good or bad in this moment, the light or the dark. But once we're looking back on the past events of our lives and we're looking back on the experiences that we've gone through, and that there's no longer a value in judging ourselves negatively or shaming ourselves as a result of them, the secret of retroactive reimagining is that I have the ability of uncovering the light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu at every stage of my experience, revealing my own Megillah. And that's the secret of Vahaya, those darkened places, those territories of lowliness of spirit, of smallness of mind, of the constriction of das, of the tendency towards anger, of the doubtful nature of faith, or the relinquishment of the belief in our strength and ourselves, etc. All of the different things that we find ourselves in. Those momentary deviations are only there for us to return back again and say, no, even though it felt that it was distant from God, my freedom as a human being and the secret of my neshama, which is the capacity of retroactive reimagining, of looking back lemafreya and reorienting myself as to what the true essence of that experience was, in spite of external appearances, that is the ability to mend all broken pieces and to reveal that they serve as the stepping stone to the truly highest level, which is the full acceptance of self, the revelation of simcha, the revelation of v'nahapoichu, the revelation that every part of the Megillah, the difficult and the light, is both part of the redemption. And that redemption is always a process of Ratzav V'Shov, and that human experience is always a process of Ratzav V'Shov. But through the doubled vision, through the retroactive reimagining of looking twice, of Re'ei Ra'inu, of not being taken by the external appearances of things, but being fundamentally aware that this world has far more to offer, which is what our souls of chaos are perpetually telling us anyway, that there's more than what the world is offering us, and to gaze back at what we thought was empty, to gaze past it, and to see the depths of meaning that rest within it in spite of external appearances. My capacity to reorient my narrative. That's the secret of the joy that comes in the time of Eikev. V'haya Eikev tishma'un. And what's that joy? What is the role? What do we need to do in order to access this capacity of retroactive reimagining? So the secret of V'haya Eikev tishma'un. Eikev, the heel. The heel is unfeeling. The heel is the lowest point. The heel is that which is without meaning. The heel is callous. The heel has lost the benefit of the typical haptic sense of the body, which is hargasha, which is feeling something, which is being a sensuous creature that can encounter the outside by way of my body itself. And the secret of the levush, and the secret of neshama beguf, and the secret of tchias amesim, which is hinted to in this week's parsha, the heel is the place where the body stops even being a body and it no longer feels anything. It's calloused, it's overwhelmed, it's bored, it's lost its insight, it's lost its capacity to care. It's been forced into that position. The heel does not choose to be the heel. The heel is the bottom of the body. The heel is ignored. The heel is the Evan Ma'asu Habanim Haisel Rosh Pina. It's the stone that is despised by the builders. It's not even revealed. It's the undertone of the body. It's the bottom of the body. It's completely covered over. It's the secret of that which hits the ground, that place of Malchus and going down into the worlds of Bria, Yitzira, and Asiya, the Eikev. Eikev is din. Eikev is the place of concealment. Eikev doesn't feel anything. Eikev is a time period where a person feels disconnected, where a person feels callous, unfeeling, inauthentic, and feels the necessity of spiritual awareness, the undying urgency of the necessity of spiritual awareness, but the impossibility of experiencing that spiritual awareness in a healing, authenticated way. One of the reasons that it's so difficult for people, for us, for me, for the world to actually value the position of the Eikev is because it doesn't feel like anything. The Eikev is forced to carry. The Eikev is forced to sustain and support the entire body that stands atop it. It's the bottom of the bottom. It's the edge of the system. It's the limit point. It's the omek tachas. There's the depth of beginning, and there's the depth of the very end. The depth of the very end is the secret of the Eikev. That place of baka, that place of beis kuf ayin, that place of an engraving, that place of something breaking apart where we hit the ground without any feeling. And when a person doesn't feel something, when a person is not illuminated, when a person is not lit up, when a person doesn't experience a real sense of feeling that gets the dopamine receptors rushing to make a person feel as if they're in a space of connection and dvekus, where the inside of my life, which is ethereal, is actually experiencing some form of contact with the outside of the world, which is real, and that unity, in the unity of the machshava and the maisa, the kavana and the osios, there's a feeling, there's meant to be a certain spark, a chakika, some expression, something that I can point to and say, I felt that, I did that, I know that, I can trust that. That's the desire for feeling, the desire to feel something. And after Chet of the Eitz Hadas, in the slow and steady descent, the fractal descent of this the desire for feeling, it expresses itself in the need to spark dopamine in the highest imaginable level, which is the grand history of addiction, the grand history of narcotics, the grand history of the body, is an attempt to assuage the self by way of a felt pleasure. But ultimately, what that's rooted in is the true reality that the secret of the neshama is that it should theoretically feel something. There should be a hakika, there should be an encounter, an engraving where mind meets reality of conscious contact. But because of exile and because of the conditioning and because of the traumas and the traumas of the traumas and the unreasonable expectation of dopamine release and all of the difficulties that we've gone through on a collective and individualized level, the heel doesn't feel anything anymore. The heel is unable to believe in that point of contact between the soul and the body, which is the world, which would authenticate the awareness that there is an inner world that is real. Feeling makes something real, but because it can't be felt, so it always rests in a place of suffix. It's amud v'talui. I don't know. I don't have proof. I don't have the true feeling. And then anything that comes along that offers even the semblance of a feeling, that makes me feel something, that makes me feel some extrasensory thing, a vada person is going to become connected to it, and they're going to say, finally, I feel something. I feel something. This is what I've been searching for. But the secret of the Eikev is the acceptance of the fact that, wait a second, perhaps the deepest secret of feeling is not to feel anything at all. Who's to say that feeling means to feel something within my dopamine receptors, within the emotions of my heart, within the sensuous experience of the body as it functions in this world as a craving creature? Who's to say that that's the true essential mark of feeling? Perhaps feeling is something far more ethereal. Perhaps feeling is something far more abstract. Perhaps it's something that's sublime. A feeling that is not a feeling that is so powerful that it can't necessarily be processed by way of the externality of feeling. Something that seems so ordinary, so boring, something so insignificant because it doesn't spark the dopamine, it doesn't get my mind rushing, it doesn't make me feel like I have a real insight or a real contact with the road, and therefore I toss it out as a meaningless point of experience. Perhaps it's specifically within the floating nature of that experience that a person is meant to attach themselves to the deepest form of feeling, which is not feeling. Why is not feeling something perhaps the deepest form of feeling? Because to feel something means that my feeling of it is contingent and dependent upon actually feeling it. That if I believe something because I feel something, or if I trust something because I feel something, then when I feel it, that's tremendous and that's wonderful. But in the times that a person doesn't feel it, so they're going to come to doubt the very basis of the relationship, of the connection point. But when a person comes to realize that I am in the feeling, I am connected to the thing that I'm seeking to be connected to, life is the thing that I am accessing. Chiyus, vitality, the infinite light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the ever-present nature of the infinite lights, the infinite lights and presence of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, of our higher power in every aspect of our experience. When I relinquish trying to feel it in some sensuous way, which can be registered by way of a dopamine scale, by way of a sensuous experience, by way of checking in with my physical body to see if I experience it, to see where the Rishimu Li is resting, to see where the memory of that experience rests so I can authenticate it and I could stamp it because I felt it. Perhaps it's in the relinquishment of the desire to feel and the willingness to believe in feeling something even without feeling something. Like the Eikev, Vahaya Eikev Tishma'un. When the Eikev listens truly to the inner experience that it's experiencing, which is an unfelt experience because it's so calloused and to the experience of exile, when the Eikev begins to hear its song, when the Eikev begins to allow its voice to be heard, a person taps into the secret of Tainug Habilti Murgash, an unfelt pleasure, the deep sense of connection that exceeds the need to feel connection because it believes fundamentally and undeniably in the secret of ultimate connection no matter what. That even within the disconnection, there's connection. Even within the Eikev, there's connection. Mamela, I don't have to feel it. I don't have to necessarily have that experience. The experience is nice. The experience is a gift. Everything is a gift. The experience is a matana. For a person to feel ruchnias, for a person to feel alignment with their higher power in a true way of dveikus and tainug ha'amiti, that's a gift that comes from above in accordance with the processing and the time and the place that a person is in. But the rest of the process is a process of anticipating a future pleasure, which gives the person the ability to taste that future pleasure in the present moment by way of not feeling it, by knowing that that future pleasure is not yet present. And in that, every moment of non-pleasure is a reminder of the future pleasure that is going to be revealed. So therefore, every step along the way of desiring that future pleasure, I've been misaneg, I've been experiencing the anticipatory joy over the knowledge that there's going to be a feeling that comes beyond my ability to cognitize it. And the secret of Hesach Hadas that's going to come. And so every moment of anticipating that, even though it's the very often boring anticipatory stage of not feeling something, but being excited to feel something, if a person can tap into that stage of the anticipatory joy, not the anticipatory dread, the anticipatory joy over that which will be felt, in spite of the fact that it is not felt yet, well, hidden within there is the deep secret that there's a certain pleasure that's far more powerful than the actual arrival of the pleasure itself. Because the arrival of the pleasure itself means the cessation of the desire towards the pleasure. But it's specifically within the desire towards the pleasure that the pleasure takes on its infinite shape, because experience is always going to be limited. And experience and its limitation is always going to seemingly satisfy the craving. And if the craving is satisfied, then it's limited. It's specifically within the desire towards pleasure where one does not yet feel the pleasure, but believes in the emergence of that future pleasure, in the silent anticipation and the silent joy, and the silent anticipatory joy of knowing that that pleasure is going to come. What a person is tasting in that moment is infinitude. As the Heligat Tzaddikim point out, as Rabbi Yaakov Moshe Chalab points out, that from a certain perspective, the anticipation towards redemption is far more intense and powerful and pleasurable than the experience of redemption itself, because redemption is one thing, and one thing is by definition not every other thing. But prior to its becoming one particular thing, it can be everything. And in the hidden patience and the willingness to wait and to tolerate the natural discomfort that the individual experiences in this world, by way of not experiencing and not feeling the way that we feel that we should feel, but rather accepting the way that we actually feel, instead of trying to realize our ideal, which would be feeling and this excitation, to idealize the real, which is to look at the non-feeling, to look at the seemingly boring element of it, and to transform that place into the place of the encounter with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's the secret of Vahaya Eikev Tishma'un, that when the heel, that which doesn't feel anything, chooses to listen to the inner pleasure, to the inner song that is coming out of the basic experience of being a human being in this moment. And the secret of being able to say, Ana zamin lemeheve, I am prepared to be here right now. and the unflinching posture that we face each and every moment with the recognition of HaKadosh Baruch Hu L'kel Gomer Alai. I am facing another mission that is impossible, but I have shlichus from the only person who can make it possible, which is you, and I hereby accept that shlichus of facing another moment in reality. V'haya Eikev tishma'un, and from there comes the joyful acceptance and the acceptance of joy that enables me to be here right now in the unfeeling nature of it. That's the secret of where Mashiach Tzidkenu comes from. Mashiach Tzidkenu is hidden in the akvayim. Redemption is hidden in the heels. Because it's specifically when I come to feel that which can't be felt, and I come to believe in spite of the fact that I don't feel the pleasantness of the belief, and I don't feel that latch or that click that makes me feel like, oh, the job is done, the action is done, I've done it. But rather I wait in that anticipatory stage of yearning desire, which can often be painful if not developed properly, of waiting to hear that click and waiting to hear that snap that tells me that the event has taken place, that I've connected myself to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. In that place of unfeeling, we have the ability to reveal the true depths of connectivity. That's the secret of the Eikev. That's the secret of the heel. And this has a very practical implication for the day-to-day experience of life as a spiritual individual on the path of recovery from whatever it is that a person is on the path of recovery towards. Because we often feel that our unfeeling and our unconsciousness and our heel-like nature and the Eikev and the Ikvas of the Mashiach and the unfeelingness of it all is because we have a timtum halev, because we've closed our hearts off from feeling, because we've concealed ourselves from feeling. We're undeserving of feeling something because of our bad behavior and because of our low status. That's why we don't feel anything. And out of the hope and out of the promise that once I get out of my stupor of destructive behavior and I actually illuminate my mind and my heart to try and connect to that which is real, then I'm going to be deserving of feeling. Then I'm going to be deserving of experiencing the thing itself and knowing that I've reached the destination. And then what happens, unfortunately, is a person moves out of that darkness and they decide, I want to feel something, and therefore I'm going to make that difficult transition, that difficult process, and that mission, that journey, that masa of the Membes Masos, the 42 journeys of the soul, to try and enter into a state of functionality, because then I know I'm going to feel something. And then a person comes and they make their way into that place, and lo and behold, drum roll, the curtain opens up and they feel nothing. A person feels nothing. A person feels nothing. The heart is not alive. The dopamine is not rushing. And in the heartbreaking disappointment and the sense of having been tricked, a person comes to say, I feel nothing. What did I just do? I left everything that I thought I was feeling in order to try and feel what I could truly feel. And over here, I don't feel anything either. And a person could, God forbid, come to be miyayish on that. A person could come, God forbid, to say that, no, this is an Eikev, this is unfeeling. What value is there in being in the good space if I don't feel anything? But this is the secret that's specifically there within the awareness of, you know what, there's no difference. I'm not a different person. My life is the same, even from before and after the process. Only then can I come to understand the true shift which has taken place, which is the internal shift. That even though I feel like the same person, even though I feel that same listlessness and that same lack of pleasure and that lack of attachment, nevertheless, everything has changed. Everything in the world has changed. As Rabbi Nachman says in one of the entries, that I went to the forest to do Hisbodedus, I went to talk to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I came back and it was an entirely new reality. It was an entirely new reality. Did the reality change? No, the inner world changed. As the Heilige Balatanya asks, he says, the Arizal says that the worlds go up on Shabbos, and that there's no more concealment, and there's only light and illumination. And everything is in a state of ascendancy. Everything is the aliyos of Shabbos, moving upwards. Zok the Heilige Balatanya, where? Where is this happening? Nothing is changing in the world. Nothing changes. Nothing changed and nothing changes. Zok the Heilige Balatanya, Elama, everything changes because it changes in the mind. And through the shifting of the mind, eventually the outside will change as well when Hashem desires for the outside to change. But the secret shift is the recognition that, yeah, nothing changes. I don't feel anything. And in that place, in that hidden moment of acceptance of the fact that even though I don't feel something, I will choose to feel the light of not feeling something. And I accept upon myself that unfeeling, and the secret of the Kabbalah's Ol Malchus Shemayim of Tainuk HaBilti Murgash, that unfelt pleasure, which is so lofty, it can't be felt. It's so profound, it can't be expressed in any way other than unfeeling, the same way that HaKadosh Baruch Hu's infinitude cannot be expressed in any way other than what we can't grasp. In that place of the Eikev, I choose to firmly plant my feet in the moment, and there I experience the Tainuka Amiti. There I experience acceptance. There I experience the song of the heel. What's the song of the heel? The song of the heel is the fourfold song. Existence, history, our lives is a fourfold song. But it's a fourfold song that is developing itself in a process of incremental growth, stage by stage by stage. Development, spiritual development, development and recovery is not one destination to the next. And once I get to the next destination, I forget about the previous stage that I was at. But rather, it's an incremental growth and a doubling where each stage grows upon the previous stage. And if, God forbid, a person begins to devalue or forget about the original stages, thinking that, oh, I'm at the second stage, I don't need the first stage anymore, that's where a person falls apart. And so the secret of the Shir Pashut, Kafel, Meshulish, and Meruba is the secret of the single song, the doubled song, the threefold song, and the fourfold song. That first and foremost, this is a sheer pashut. There's the illumination of the mind. We want to sing the simple song of connectivity to God in a feeling way. But very often a person can't stay in that place. And things unfold and they split and they become doubled. So there's the sheer kaful. The doubled song is where now I'm grappling with the distinction between self and there's two parts to me, and I'm still going to create that beautiful song. Even though I'm not holding by the sheer pashut, that first song of simplicity, of connection, where everything is light, I'm holding by the doubled song. Sure, my life begins to split, but nevertheless, I can see the unity in it. That's the doubled song. So it's the simple song and then the doubled song. It's the Yud, and then it's the Yud Hey of Hashem's name. But the doubled song is building upon the first song. The first song is expressing itself in the doubled song. The only power to find Hashem and to find our higher power in our life is by the awareness that even though things begin to fall apart, I'm aware that the unity is still there. And then I descend into the threefold song, into the world of Yetzirah, into that place of concealment, into that place of choices, into that place of choosing right or wrong and judgment of self, and the place of Ahava and Yira and Dveikus, the place of love and fear and attachment, which, because they can be expressed in a particular way, can also be expressed by way of negativity, in that place of Zelu Umaseh, that there's options now. In that threefold place of concealment, it's harder to sing the song of Hashem. It's more concealed. There's layers now. There's a three-part breakdown. There's right, left, and center. It's no longer just up and down like the doubled song. It's no longer just everything like the first song. But now it's concealment. Now there's directionality. Three is the beginning of all expansion. And so we have the one-fold song, the doubled song, and the threefold song, the Yud Hey, and the Yud Hey Vav. And a person can still sing the song there. But then comes the fourfold song, the Yud Hey, the Yud Hey Vav, and the Yud Hey Vav Hey. The gradual stages of concealment from one stage of revelation to the doubled stage of above and below to the tripled stage of reft, light, and center. Now we find ourselves in concealment itself. We feel things in the body. We don't feel anything at all. We live in a natural world, a world without order, a world without fairness, a world without care, etc., etc. All of the concealment that a person experiences in that place of the Eikev, in that place of the regel, and that lower part of the body, which is representative of the body itself, the fullness of the body. The regel is the ikr part of the body because that's where it comes in contact with the road. That's the secret of the Eikev. That's the secret of the heel. And here in that fourfold song, it's nearly impossible to sing the song of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Until Asilava, when Moshe Rabbeinu and Mashiach teach us that song. They teach us that song of Az Yashir, of connecting the light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu to the body. But it's our responsibility, V'haya Eikev Tishma'un, to tune in and illuminate the song of the Eikev, that fourfold song, that secret that HaKadosh Baruch Hu's light is found in the bare reality of this world, in the thisness of it, in each and every moment of experience. In each and every moment of experience, a person is encountering the fullness of existence. Ak v'abiyah, every moment. There is a Torah of Olam Hazeh. There is a Torah of drawing the Torah down to the lowest place, to the Dir B'Tachtonim, and revealing from there of Gam ki yelech begeit samaves lo irarat ki ata imadi. Though I walk in the secret of Eikev, begeit samaves, in that place of shadows, in that place of the shadow of death. The Eikev is only in a place of shadows. It doesn't see anything. It doesn't see the light of the intellect. It's underneath. It's underfoot. Gam ki elech begeit samaves lo irara ki ata imadi. Our song is that we will not be afraid because we're going to hear the fact that Hashem, you are with me, in every one of the Eikevs, in every heel, in every footstep. In that place, we hear the song of the Eikev, which is the pleasure that comes out from that sense that I don't feel anything. That's okay. I don't need to feel anything. I'm mature enough to overcome the dependency on dopamine. I'm mature enough to tolerate. I tolerate so much. Each and every neshama tolerates infinite amounts in this world. And it's only in the one place that our neshama convinces ourselves, that the Yetzer convinces us that we can't tolerate it, that we feel it's impossible to tolerate. A person can tolerate. HaKadosh Baruch Hu tolerates and a person tolerates. The secret recipe towards the survival in exile until the coming of Mashiach, and the secret of recovery is the recognition that before I assumed that difficult meant impossible. Now I understand that difficult doesn't mean impossible. And in the separation between difficult and impossible, and the realization that I can do difficult things and I can be soivel, v'yat sichmo lispol, and I decide to take upon myself the responsibility of being a shliach who doesn't feel something in this world, then A, I'll be surprised by the times that I feel something. B, I'll understand the secret of Shabbos, which is the secret of feeling something. And C, I'll be able to get my work done. That's the Shir Meruba. That's the song that comes from the body. That's the song that comes from the aches and the pains of the body at the end of exile. The Ribua, the secret of, at the very end comes out the most illuminated light. As that's the secret of the Eikev, Vahaya Eikev Tishma'un. It's specifically when we lean into the unfeelingness of it all, that we begin to reveal the deepest light, which is our belief in the feeling, which gives us the power to move forward in spite of not feeling something. And with this is what Rabbi Nachman describes about Eretz Yisrael. Eretz Yisrael is the place of the Eikev. Eretz Yisrael is the place of this week's Parsha. Eretz Yisrael is the deepest secret, that the fullest expression of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's revelation in this world is in the land itself. Now again, if a person is in the land itself, then it's literally about the land itself. And a person is not in the land itself, so it's also still literally about the land itself, but the access to the literal land itself is by way of figurative imagination, as Rabbi Nachman describes in the 42nd teaching, that if a person wants to draw down the air of the land of Israel to where they are, they should clap their hands like this, because there's 14 elements on each hand, and when I take each hand together, it reveals koach, it reveals strength. 14 plus 14 is 28, which is strength. And when I want to reveal the strength of Hashem to the rest of the world, meaning I want to draw down the light of Israel, the light of Eretz Yisrael, that insight of the Eikev Mamish, that ability to walk upon the land and realize that that is the full expression of the spiritual experience, that being alive is the spiritual experience, that being aware, being conscious, eating fruit, that could be the spiritual experience. If I want to draw that insight into a chutz la'aretz mentality, so then I have to clap my hands and I have to draw down that illumination, that light, which allows me to rest in the place that I am at, to say that Hashem is here also. But Rabbi Nachman describes in the 115th teaching of his experience of trying to come to Eretz Yisrael. Eretz Yisrael is the Eikev. Eretz Yisrael is the boringness of it all. Eretz Yisrael is the ground mamish, the stones and the dust, and the regularness of all things, and the ordinariness of it, and the yom b'yom of it, and the processing of all of it, and the unexcitement of all of it. All of those feelings, all of that post-acute withdrawal symptoms that a person experiences no matter where they are in their life. And Rabbi Nachman says, Rabbi Nachman was ready to give his entire life to get to Eretz Yisrael. He chose to descend into the path of Derech Eretz Shekadma LaTorah, to act like a Meshugana, to access the path of Yitzchak, which all of us live upon. That place of not knowing which way is up and which way is down, just to get to that place of the Eikev. I don't feel anything anymore, but Vahaya Eikev Tishma'un. When the heels hit the ground and I enable myself to listen to that Shir Meruba, to hear the song that comes out of the body's encounter with this worldliness itself, and the element of the Eikev, and the element of the most physical expression of the body and its aches and its pains and its pleasures of Shabbos, Moshe Rabbeinu was ready to give everything. And he revealed that. He revealed that in the secret of Eschanan, the secret of powerlessness, which is the secret of the heels, which is the secret of the unfeelingness of the heels. But Rabbi Nachman describes the three-step process of the consideration of Eretz Yisrael. Before coming to Eretz Yisrael, says Rabbi Nachman, people didn't even believe that it was a real thing. People could not believe that such a spiritual illumination, such a place of functioning existed. They assumed that it was something otherworldly. So when a person finds themselves in the stage of chutz la'aretz, when a person is still struggling, the notion of functioning, the notion of recovery, seems like it is a completely separate world and a separate universe that is inaccessible to me, because of the idealization and the excitement and the sense that if only I get there, I'll feel something. When I found myself in the unfeeling stage, that imagined land of feeling, of dopamine, of experience, of tainug, hamurgash, of felt pleasure, seemed to be completely other. And then I work my way towards there. And a person is moser nefesh to get to that place, all in the hopes that they're going to feel something. And they get to the land of Eretz Yisrael. And then Rabbi Nachman says what happens is that they looked at the stones and they looked at the afar and they looked at the sky. And they said, this is like every other land. There's nothing different here. There's no excitement here. Nothing has changed. There's no actual shift. The world remains the same. I don't feel something still. It's Eikev. I don't experience that revealed reality of the shift. I don't feel it. Give me the proof of the better feeling. Give me the proof of a better way of living. And because the mind is so often conditioned to have expected that deeply felt pleasure, when it experiences the disappointment of not feeling that pleasure, very often it wants to return back to Mitzrayim. It wants to return back to that place where at least I had the hopes of trying to find pleasure there, in whatever manifestation of that cycle a person's life expresses itself in. But then Rabbi Nachman describes a third stage, that if a person is patient enough, and they choose to look a little bit deeper, and they choose to stick around in spite of the fact that they don't feel what they thought that they were going to be feeling, what happens next is this secret, that va'afal pikein, nevertheless, he kedusha ma'od ma'od. Her holiness is very, very great. That very, very. That gesher tsar ma'od ma'od, the very, very, the need to double down over and over. Ma'od ma'od is the secret of the shir meruba. Ma'od ma'od is the secret of that song that comes out from the Eikev itself. Ma'od ma'od are the two akvayim. They're the two heels that feel nothing. The secret of Mashiach ben Yosef and Mashiach ben David. B'tachlis HaKadusha, a person comes to realize in those akvayim the ascendant lights of holiness, the profound levels of holiness that are there. Praiseworthy is the individual who is meritorious to walk even 4 steps in that land. 4 steps. The Shir Pashut Kafel Meshulash Meruba, Yud Hey Vav Hey. Specifically going from the mind down to the heart, down to the emotions, down into the body itself to reveal that song of the body in Eretz Yisrael, as our teachers have taught us with regards to the holiness of the land. Now, in this week's Parsha, it's all about the Eikev. It's all about entering into the land. It's all about eating the food of the land. It's all about finding the taste of the land, making the brachos in the land. And that's that secret third stage, that after we go through that process of feeling no difference, of feeling that nothing has changed, then we come to uncover the deepest secret that everything has changed. That it's kimei hashemayim al haaretz. That in the ordinariness of it all, and that secret of Tainuk HaBilti Murgash, and that Eikev that doesn't feel anything, therein rests the deepest secret of the pleasure of that anticipation towards the illumination of the future, which rebounds back and allows me to plant my feet firmly on the ground. When the Eikev lifts itself off the ground to allow the light of the intellect to shine on it, it's the beginning of dancing. That's what to dance means. To dance is to lift the heel and to allow the heel to come back down. To lift the heel and allow the heel to come back down. And in the process of lifting and going back down, lifting and going back down, the heel begins to reverberate its light throughout the rest of the body. And the rest of the body, the mind and the heart and all of those things which are still waiting for those felt expressions in order to continue doing what we're doing, the heel influences it and it reveals to the entire body that no. The benefit of this stage, the benefit of the Shir Meruba, is that you get to do it even when you don't feel it. It's the secret of Or Chadash al Tzion Ta'ir, V'nizkech Lanu Meher L'Oira, the secret of a new light that because it is not in accordance with the receptors that we have and the ability that we have to feel it, it feels like nothing. It's the secret of mitzvos einot tzrichos kavana, that in truth your mitzvah doesn't need kavana. All you need to do is plant your feet firmly on the ground. All you need to do is plant your feet firmly on the ground in the secret of Vahya Eikev Tishma'un, and that joyful song of the Shir of Emunah, of Tashure Merosh Amana, that no matter where a person is holding, no matter what is blocking a person from assuming that they can't enter into the Kodesh HaKadoshim of being a shliach and a messenger for the Rabbanu Shalom, for the higher power, through their own individual experiences, the only thing that we have to do now is be aware of that and run right to the top of the mountain. To jump up to Rosh HaPisga, to jump up to the top of the mountain where Moshe Rabbeinu was looking down onto Eretz Yisrael, enabling each and every one of us to illuminate our akvayim. To dance the dance of David HaMelech, which will bring the light of Moshe Rabbeinu's vision into Eretz Yisrael. And when the eyes of Moshe Rabbeinu, which gazed out onto the goodness of Eretz Yisrael, with all of the illumination and feeling and anticipation, joined together with the legs of David HaMelech, which feel absolutely nothing. So at that point, there's a yichud between the Rosh and the Sof, and the illumination of ideals express themselves within the boredom of the real, and we experience the elevation of Elam Ha'asiyah and the secret of Vahaya Eikev Tishma'un Be'ezras Hashem.